Hello, my name is Angel Hodges, and tonight I'm going to explain to you what I learned through my research of Pablo Picasso and his influence on Spanish cultures. To begin with, Pablo Picasso was a very influential artist in the Spanish culture. His expressions could be seen throughout his artwork, and they came from life experiences that he had of his own, such as depression, grief, and happiness. His masterpieces include many different forms of art, such as paintings, drawings, sculptures, costumes, and different theater sets. In most of his works, especially in the earlier years, he used the monochromatic color palette, which is something that you see often and very much so in the Spanish culture. His later years, he started to develop the use of color, but it was quite a bit later, and we'll go into that in more detail later. Pablo Picasso, he devoted himself to his artistic productions, and this contributed significantly to and paralleled the whole development of modern art for the 20th century, and that was quoted through Encyclopedia Britannica, Macaulay, 2019. Pablo Picasso was born in Spain on October 25th of 1881. His parents were Don Jose Ruiz y Blasco, and his mother was Maria Picasso y Lopez. And again, I found that in the Encyclopedia Britannica, Macaulay, 2019. His father was a professor of art as well as a painter. Picasso was trained under his father until he was approximately 13 years old, and at this time his father decided that Picasso's art and his works had way surpassed what he could ever teach him, and so about that time he went ahead and sent him to the School of Fine Arts in Corunna, Spain, approximately the age of 13. Then at about 14, Picasso, that is when Picasso is known to have painted one of his famous portraits, and that was the portrait of Aunt Pepe. This, according to Pablo Picasso, was PabloPicasso.org of 2019. It's a striking depiction that had been referred to as one of the best portraits in Spanish history. So again, this is where we find some more culture that relates to the Spanish history regarding Pablo Picasso. By the time he was 16 years old, Pablo Picasso went to the Royal Academy of San Fernando in Madrid, Spain. So again, he has got he has been influenced through the culture and to carry on his Spanish influences into his art. Pablo Picasso found that he disliked formal education, and after a trip to Paris, he then found that his bright color choices started to come through. The traditional Spanish culture up to this point used the drab monochromatic colors and neutral colors. So this was a turning point in his artwork. Soon after he returned to Paris, he suffered a huge love loss, and this led him into one of the many periods that his artwork has been placed into or organized into. One of them is the Blue period. And this is where he focused on using a lot of blue and green colors in his artwork. And during this time, you can see where he had experienced through the community and in his own life experiences the effects of the local communities, such as malnutrition and prostitution, were highlighted through these works. Poverty was also something else that Pablo Picasso experienced in his own life and is represented in many of his paintings and his drawings and sculptures. The next period that you find of Pablo Picasso's, let me step back real quick and I will show you the blue period. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but one of his very famous paintings here is the Old Guitarist, and this was done in 1903 by Pablo Picasso. And again, it's very dark, neutral colors and very blue, and there's a lot of sadness and kind of a depressed state in that picture. And so then we move into the rose period. And this is where Pablo Picasso picked up more of the orange and pink colors. And he used a lot of like circus people, harlequins, and such. And in Pablo Picasso's rose period, 1904 to 1906, we have an example of the boy leading a horse. And again, it is kind of the neutral colors, but he starts picking up the orange and red colors. I'm sorry, the orange and pink colors. And this period is inspired by his overwhelming depression and sadness that he had also suffered through that time. Although the use of brighter colors exemplifies the cheerfulness and the expressions that he finally was able to find in life, and that's where we start getting the brighter colors that he started using. One of his most influential influences towards Spanish culture and culture in general when it comes to art is he was a co-founder of Cubism. And Cubism is the natural colors, neutral colors, and the use of geometric shapes that interlock. And that can be seen in future artwork after the rose period and the blue period. You can see in this picture a little bit, it's kind of hard to see on the video, but I have made a PowerPoint and that should be added with my paper. But you can see all the blocks, and again, we have the orange colors and the red tones that are coming out in the area of in the piece of May Jolie. And so that is also when we get into Cubism, he is the influencer that begins the collage too. And the collage has become a very big part of art throughout Spanish culture as well as world culture. His Spanish influences are seen again in the monochromatic palettes. He uses those throughout his artworks, throughout from the beginning to the end, with just touches of different colors popping in every once in a while. One of his most notable masterpieces is Guernica, and this was done in 1937. And it's a depiction of the war, and it's Picasso's. It's his way of his anti-war semioticism, and he and the despair. It kind of embodies the despair of war, and his feelings toward anti-fascism. He did not agree with fascism, and that's very represented in this piece. He was definitely a anti-war protester again, and let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so in the later years, his works of art became very much larger and more expressive. His use of color embraced the artwork, and it can be seen more frequently through his works the later it gets. For an example, The Guitarist, he's got a little bit more color in it, and it's not just a solid monochromatic theme. And this is a portrait that I was actually able to visually see myself. On September 28th, we just recently we went to the Dallas Museum of Art, and it was really interesting getting to visualize this piece and getting to spend some time with it. It's very large. It's obviously the representation in the picture is not adequate, but the picture would take up most of the wall behind me and probably a little bit higher. But and what was really interesting about the picture is that Pablo Picasso would sign his signature, and you would have to find it. He did not make it very noticeable. It's something that kind of added to the experience of his artworks, and it took me a little while. I think it took me probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and I still wasn't able to find it, even though I looked at multiple different angles and tried to use the light and twisted and turned and all that good stuff. And finally, one of the curators came up and kind of explained to me how to find it. And once they explained to me and kind of gave me the central location of where the signature was, I was able to find it, and it was pretty cool. It's up in this top corner here, and you literally have to look at the painting like sideways, I guess you'd say. But it was very interesting, and it really made me see the picture at different perspectives, and it was very captivating, and I enjoyed being a part of that piece of work, because it wasn't just a look at it, walk off, and you're done. You had to visually become a part, and you had to really take time to see different perspectives to find what you were looking for. And Pablo Picasso is quoted stating, "I do not seek, I find." And so that kind of, it went together very well. And unfortunately, on April 8th, 1973, Mr. Pablo Picasso passed away at the age of 91. And he was at home with his friends and family when he passed away. And again, that was found in Macaulay Encyclopedia Britannica 2019. He was buried at Mount Santa Victoria, and that is quoted through 15 Things You Didn't Know About Picasso 2019. Picasso became a very influential artist among his peers, along with throughout the world. Pablo Picasso has been an influencer of Spanish art through his various use of Spanish inspirations, and he grew to appreciate and learn throughout his life. Spanish culture is expressed throughout his many art forms. His influence on the Spanish culture will continue to inspire and captivate the world for many, many years to come. Thank you.